Good morning to you all. I'm here on behalf of the fourth group of work. We had quite a passionate discussion about this theme. My name is Cristina Gavina. I'm from Portugal, and I have Xavier with me. He's from Spain and is representing the youth. And the thing is that when we were discussing this topic, we actually thought that probably we should focus on four main topics. And the thing we thought about was remote mentoring, which is something that probably not many of you know about, and so it's not a reality. We thought about remote assessment as testing, and for that we thought about the cardiologists in training and also the cardiologists in practice. And we thought about logbooks and specifically about the ACCA platform. And we thought what was going well and what was going wrong in these topics. About remote mentoring, the truth is that pretty much no one has truly a remote mentoring program. And if you see this, some countries actually have local mentors, others don't have any kind of mentors, but we don't have a structured program for remote mentoring. And we believe this is also because we don't have actual mentors. What is mentoring? So, do you have training for mentoring? I think that everyone is doing some kind of mentoring at some point of their career, but we don't have the exact tools to help the trainees to get where they want to be. So, probably it would be important and a challenge to facilitate exchange of mentors through countries and have specific programs in this thing. Of course, that geographical challenges are a problem, and also how do you reward these mentors? How do you get to them and make them willing to participate in this very demanding task? About testing, we thought, okay, we actually don't have a remote exit certification exam. And with remote, probably we're not talking about in your homes doing this kind of exam, but in your local societies having the opportunity to do an exit exam that would be harmonized between all the European countries involved. So this is not a reality, but probably would be important for achieving a good quality of education and also harmonizing and standardizing the way cardiologists are trained and recognized across Europe. So we thought that would be a real challenge to have a general cardiology certification at national and European level. And also, it would be important for continual medical education that the program would be structured and more available. Right now, we don't have certification and recertification available at all countries. All have different models, but it would be important to have this self-assessment that could give you some kind of credits. And with those credits, you could improve and actually have some kind of examination midterm your career to be sure that you're evolving. So this is actually something we have to think about how to improve in local and European level. About the logbooks, not everyone has logbooks. Most of the logbooks are actually on paper, and the thing is they are not practical. People don't find it very attractive and probably not very valuable. Why? Because this is you're just counting procedures. You're not actually evaluating the quality of the procedures. So people think that probably digital record certified, of course, by local directors would be important. It has to be implemented, but you have to make sure that the national medical board and the health ministries find it also important. Otherwise, you cannot make people use it. That's also the problem with this ACCA platform. We find it very interesting, but it's not being used very widely. So probably what we have to do is to create a need for it, create value. People have to understand that using this platform, they're gaining something out of it. So we have to put it in a more interesting way and probably try to overcome some problems that we have, not only technical problems, but also with the lack of national mentors that could be involved in this kind of program. Now, I'll change to Xavier to go on with what we think that are the opportunities and the chances for collaboration with the ASC.
Thank you for your presentation. So on behalf of Group 4, we have tried to cover these unmet remote educational needs in 4 points. So the first one, which is remote mentoring, we believe that we have a good opportunity to try to establish some kind of training program which could be remotely, let's say, led by the ESC. Whether these mentors should be rewarded or not is it's a matter of a debate that we can leave it open at the moment. But in any case, it's a good opportunity for maybe for that young people who is in some hospital and would like to have some kind of mentorship that is not able to find locally. So when it comes to the certification, we have divided this in certification for cardiologists in training and re-certification for cardiologists in practice. For the first part, we have the Excel platform, which is we believe it's a good platform. Of course, it's improvable, but it has not widely used, probably because it has not additive value for the education of the young people, in the sense that it has no recognition that this should be somehow promoted from the ESC, meaning that maybe could be included in the curriculum or something like that, or it should be somehow recognized. When it comes to the exam, we believe that the problem here is that each country has its own rules, and it's difficult to gain room for having an exit exam which should be recognized, which can be recognized. So we understand that this European exam that we have could have a room, could have a place as a medium examination, in the sense that something that happens in the middle of the residence and is not understood as a proficiency certification, which is usually run by the corresponding Ministry of Health or so. And then we believe that to try to address this issue, we should approach either European opinion leaders or maybe, let's say, go into politics through European Commission for these countries who are within the EU. And to promote this exam, we believe that it could be in one hand, it can be understood as a reward, in the sense that in the same way that we have a FESC membership, we can have let's say, fully qualified membership for the people who have passed this exam. Or it could be also understood, in the other hand, as an obstacle, in the sense of something which is needed to get grants or maybe some other access to educational resources within the ESC. And we also believe that we should promote these joint sessions within each national conference, for ESC national conference, to promote this ESC exam. We had also debate on whether this exam should be translated into several languages, and this is also something that it's open to a debate. And when it comes to a recertification for more, let's say, senior cardiologists, we believe that an exam is probably not a good idea, but something more like a structured self-assessment that could happen maybe every 4 years, because it's where more or less the guidelines change. It's also a proposal from our point of view. And when it comes to the logbook, we believe that it should be digital, it should be easy to export to other softwares like Excel or Word or whatever. It should be more practical, it should be harmonized across countries, and it should require the same amount of procedures or the same amount of the same requirements for every country independently on whether they have a longer or shorter period of residence. And just to finish, this is more or less the summary of what we have been discussing, and this is the figure that we are proposing for the document that we are producing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Group 4? There's one here.
Sorry for talking again and again. Jamila Nasr from Egypt, Vice President of the Egyptian Society of Cardiology. I'm asking you, now we are in the era of, we do have the milestone-based, competency-based medical education. So I think before doing this, the ESSC should conduct studies to compare the face-to-face education versus the remote education, because we are competency-based medical education. Also, I have another suggestion that we should focus upon the learner-centered remote feedback by doing some surveys, because what about the learner who's going to get this remote learner? So I think we should conduct surveys. It's of importance to my knowledge. Thank you.
Of course, that we are concerned about the models that we can apply here. They have to be harmonized again with other models, including the competency model that is being used for medical evaluation. They should not compete. They should be complementary. But I think we have something to say here, because the ESC has very good contents and a very good curriculum, which is the base of all the education we are doing here, also all the web-based programs. And we should use it to try to attain a critical minimum of qualifications that any ES cardiologist should have. So I think we have to keep the standards up and respect all the national communities, of course, but try to work with them to guarantee a minimum of quality of all the European cardiologists, and I think we can achieve that. The second question was about the surveys. Of course, it's very important to have feedback. If you don't have feedback, it doesn't mean anything. They're not learning, and we're not improving with their feedback. So the SCAL platform includes this, and it also puts a lot of importance in the mentor, not on the mentee. And that's very important, because you have to have some kind of survey, not only of the one training, but also the one who is training him. And this kind of feedback and input is extremely important and should always be included in any kind of evaluation we were trying to do for self-assessment. That also should be included at the end, some kind of evaluation of the evaluation itself, if it is useful, if this is the model we want, or if we are going to go anywhere else.
My name is Per-Anton Senes. I'm in the Education Committee representing the Council of Cardiology Practice, and I also am a single cardiology practitioner myself. And I think it's a very good idea that you plan to harmonize across Europe requirements for at least every 4 years have an assessment of the CMI of practicing cardiologists. We are often in single practices. We are not in a hospital where you have educational meetings. We are totally dependent on e-learning and go to meeting, national, international, to have upgrade our knowledge. And for instance, in Norway, there's no requirements for CMI for cardiologists. So I was a cardiologist in 1993, and as long as you don't get legal problems, you can still continue with what you learned 25 years ago. So I think it's that we should try to influence the EU to have mandatory requirements across Europe, that every cardiologist in practice should have some requirements for continuing medical education, and e-learning is the basis of this.
Thank you for your comment. I guess that the problem what we are dealing with is that we cannot legislate. So we have a scientific society. So the only way that we can have to, let's say, promote this assessment to be meaningful is just to give some kind of recognition. So that's I think, the bottom line of what we have been trying to summarize.
Franz Weidinger from Vienna. There was one sentence on your slide regarding the logbooks that you said numbers should be equalized even for countries having less than 4 years of cardiology training. Could you elaborate on that? What was the opinion of the young community or your group on numbers and assessment of skills?
We had the chance to have one country, which was Lithuania, involved in our group, and they only have 4 years of cardiology training, which includes 2 years in the common trunk, if I'm right, and 2 years in cardiology. So we were kind of concerned that they wouldn't perform the number of procedures, the minimum number required to be at least acknowledged as a professional in those areas. So I think that we have to push to local governments to make the change. The thing is, because of financial constraints in some countries, they're decreasing the time of formation of these young cardiologists. And probably what we have to do is to set a clear message that we're not going to let quality go down because of economical issues, and try to harmonize the number of procedures that have to be done, trying to push national entities to increase the time of formation if they need it to actually have a good cardiology training.